First, let's get this out of the way. Yes, I probably look a little pink or orange, like a blumpkin. I know it's a camera thing. No matter how I adjust the lighting, it doesn't seem to be fixing it. And there's no adjustments I can make on the camera. So, it is what it is. We're just going to roll with it for today. Now, what I want to talk about is something very, very important. It is almost at the essence of covering video games on the internet, especially here on YouTube, because there's so much direct interaction between us as creators and you guys as consumers or, fans or viewers or whatever. They call people like me video influencers, so apparently we have some sort of influence over you guys. And some of this kind of came full circle because the conversation we're talking about is how Sony, Microsoft, PC, Nintendo, and pretty much fans of any sort of video game or video game entity should come together. Because I have been dealing with these fan wars for a long time. These console wars have existed. I mean, I'm 31, going on 32 this year, and I remember arguing about Nintendo and Sega on the playground in elementary school way back in the early 90s. I mean, we're at the point here where these sort of things are not going to go away. I realize that people are still going to argue for their preferred games and their preferred platforms or the other games and other platforms, primarily because they feel like they need to justify their purchase to other people. And I don't really understand why they need to do that, because the only person that needs to feel good about something they bought is yourself. As long as you are happy with the product, game, controller, whatever else that you bought, you don't need to put down what other people are enjoying to make your own enjoyment better. At least you shouldn't have to do that. I realize there's some cynics out there that they actually get more enjoyment by being like, oh, Breath of the Wild destroys Horizon Zero Dawn. Look at all these Game of the Year awards. So Nintendo and Breath of the Wild and Switch and Wii U, they're vastly superior to PlayStation 4 and whatever they had going on in 2017. Who cares? There's plenty of people that loved Horizon Zero Dawn. There's plenty of people that loved the PlayStation 4, loved the Xbox One X, loved PC gaming, loved the 3DS even. And I've been someone who's been saying, hey, it's time to kill off the 3DS. Doesn't matter. It's okay if you enjoy those platforms and the games on them, even if it's not my cup of tea. And we're in this era now where everyone's trying to figure out how to lessen this controversy. And this kind of comes up because Redout, the developers of Redout, went after Digital Foundry for making a mistake. Digital Foundry screwed up. A pretty big screw up on their part. Digital Foundry does a lot of technical analysis of games. So say a developer says, oh, this game runs at 1080p and 60 FPS. Well, they will try to verify that for consumers to provide consumers information. And in the case of Redout, they got the resolution wrong. On Xbox One X, the game runs at like 4K and has like a dynamic resolution scaler and can dip down to 1080p. And they said there's no dynamic resolution scaler and that every area they tested came out at 1080p. Now, it's obviously possible that every area they captured happened to be running at 1080p. It's also possible that they didn't have the update, which had released 3 weeks before their video, so that would be Digital Foundry's fault for not having the update that added the dynamic resolution scaling. Or, on top of all of this, their methods could just be bad, they could have rushed the video, could have been sloppy, etc. I don't work at Digital Foundry, so I don't know what happened. But this led to some controversy where people are wondering whether or not these technical analysis areas should exist, because they feel like all tech analysis YouTubers and websites and people do is add fuel to the fire of fan wars. Because what started up with Redout, even though Redout's going after Digital Foundry, and there's that whole dynamic there where I think Redout should have just talked to Digital Foundry before threatening a lawsuit. Regardless of how you feel about that, it brings up this conversation about resolution, FPS becoming this kind of this kind of fuel for the fan debate. For the fan wars, for the console wars. And here's the thing. I'm a tech enthusiast. I love technical analysis. I think it's important as a consumer to have that knowledge. I'm someone that might use that knowledge to determine which version of the game I want to purchase. I own an Xbox One, I own a gaming PC, I own a Switch, and I'm eventually going to own a PlayStation 4, and I'm going to want to know which of my games runs at a way that I prefer it to run on which platform. And you might say, oh, Nate, you have PC. Always go PC. But we know there's actually issues at times with games made for consoles that are ported to PC that don't necessarily run the greatest 100% of the time on PC, and might actually be, even though it shouldn't be the case, a superior, performance on a home console. So when you have that happening, and then obviously with the Switch now, you got to consider, well, how much performance am I willing to give up to be able to just play the game anywhere, which I can't even do on other platforms. There's just a lot of factors to consider. And having technical analysis from places like Digital Foundry, and they're not the only place that does this, is important to me. But it also provides information that lets fanboys and console fanboys even fight. And I don't think it's Digital Foundry's fault. I don't think it's technical analysis, anyone who does that kind of fault. These wars existed before technical analysis was even a thing. These wars existed back in the playground, back in the early 90s, and they still exist today. And I feel like it's time for all of us to kind of take a step back, myself included, right? Because I have to recognize some things I say fuel the debate. We talked about this a little bit last year, but there was a video I released kind of criticizing Sony's reasoning for not allowing crossplay and protecting children. And to date, it's one of our highest viewed videos at Nintendo Prime. So you might think, man, that was a great video. You should do more videos like that. But the reason it got the viewership it did was the type of people it attracted, the type of people that drew attention to it, the people that are Nintendo fanboys, or even Xbox fanboys for that particular video, that wanted something negative about Sony to latch onto and throw out there in all of their debates and wars. The same thing is true with people who really dislike Switch. They find the things that are faults with the Switch, latch onto it, and try to use it as a means why no one should buy Switch, and why anyone who owns a Switch is wrong, and why their opinions are superior. And this sucks. It sucks that this is the mentality we live in. But here's the thing. It's a fault of our human brains, right? There's a lot of science out there about this. But at the end of the day, we want to feel good about ourselves. And one way to feel good about ourselves, unfortunately, is to put other people down. This actually is a commonplace thing that we call bullying when you're younger, right? We always want to protect our children and not promote that they put other people down and make themselves feel better, or put other people down because they think it's funny. And really, as adults and even kids with these fanboy wars, we are doing the exact same thing. We're trying to bully other people to agree with us when they don't need to, right? It'd be different if we're talking about like an objective, factual-based ideal. As an example, if someone wants to tell me that Doom runs better on Switch than it does on PC, they're factually incorrect, and it's okay to correct them. What's not okay to do is tell them they are wrong for enjoying Doom on Switch versus PC, because that's a personal taste and a personal opinion that takes in other factors, such as the fact you could take it on the go. That is something that people will value over performance metrics at times, and that's something that some people have a hard time wrapping their mind around. And it kind of sucks that in this gaming sphere that I've grown up in, that I've spent 25 years in, that it's never really gotten worse. It's never really gotten better. It's just kind of stayed the same. Everyone trying to argue against everyone based on opinions and personal taste to justify themselves. It is something that I wish didn't exist. And it almost makes me feel like, even as a YouTuber at times, because there's several YouTubers that are definitely falling in the war debate and fueling the wars intentionally. My Sony video wasn't intentionally fueling the war, but just by reporting on it, it fueled it, just because I gave information, right? Like Digital Foundry, when they do technical analysis, they're not trying to fuel fanboy, debates and wars and console battles, but the kind of the microcosm of having that information out there is it provides more information that people are going to take advantage of in those situations. And I feel like I'm unique here in that as much as I openly admit I have bias towards Nintendo, I have bias towards PC gaming. I am a PC tech enthusiast. I'm a tech enthusiast in general, but definitely PC tech. And I am a Nintendo enthusiast. But I try not to allow my obvious admitted bias towards those mediums affect how I view Xbox One, PlayStation 4, or any other competitor that comes to the market. As an example, I don't hate virtual reality because Nintendo's not doing it. I just have never experienced anything in virtual reality that makes me think, yeah, this is great. And I've tried Resident Evil 7 in virtual reality, one of the best virtual reality games out there. It's a really neat experience, but it's just a neat experience. It's not something I see myself doing on the daily. And that's fine. It's okay. Virtual reality, at least in its current state, might not be for me. And that's fine. I don't care. It could be for you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong for enjoying it just because I don't. And I feel like that's what makes me stand out a little bit here on YouTube and amongst even Nintendo fans at times is I enjoy things that all these other companies are doing. And when I don't enjoy them, I still understand why other people do. It's okay for you, me, and your neighbors and your friends to like something that somebody else doesn't. And we don't need to put them down because they don't like what we like. There's people that have told me that Breath of the Wild is a bad game. Forget being a bad Zelda game, just a bad game. And when I ask them why, they give me reasons that they dislike it. They don't like the lack of direction at times. They don't like the item management and the cooking and how items break and the lack of dungeons and they don't think the cutscenes are good and the voice acting's any good. Like, they'll give me all these criticisms that are fine, fair, and legitimate to have from a subjective standpoint, and I sit back and say, that's fine. Breath of the Wild is just not for you. It's okay. Like, I'll fire back and be like, well, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game, and I disagree. But that's just it. I disagree. This actually came up on Twitter between me and a user on Twitter where we were debating back and forth about the merits and pitfalls of a place that does technical analysis like Digital Foundry, its responsibility to consumers and why it exists. And he was talking about how it's good to exist for developers, but developers already know what the performance metrics are. They don't need Digital Foundry to tell them. Digital Foundry is there to give information to consumers. And for consumers like me, that information is invaluable. But there's a lot of consumers that are using it in ways that are kind of unintended, but they're also the known consequence of covering it, right? When I covered the Sony story about them protecting children on why they won't do crossplay with Switch and Xbox One, I knew, I'm not stupid, I knew in the back of my mind that it was going to attract people that are looking for fuel to spit out at Sony. And that sucks. Even in this conversation we're having here, it's going to attract people that are interested in how a Nintendo person is going to try to convey the concerns of other platform holders out there. And I'm not here to do that. I think it's okay to have options in the market. I think options are good. I think there's a place for Xbox One and Xbox One X. I think there's a place for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. I think there's a place for the 3DS even. I think there's a place for the Switch and a place for the PC. I think there's not a single device on the market that actually caters to every single consumer's desires, wants, and needs. I don't think it exists. I don't think it's ever existed. And that's why competition is so good in the gaming industry. Because it leads to things like Switch. It leads to things like Xbox One X being like, hey, look, we're just, forget the games. We're just going to make a more powerful system that should be able to run third-party games on your TV better than pretty much anything but a more expensive PC. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just then there's nothing wrong with, like, the PC master race. And how, like, they say, oh, games, all these options of controllers and everything you can do on PC, except take it with you. Now, you can stream your PC to devices you can take with you. You can bring a gaming laptop, but none of it's the same convenience factor as a Switch. And then you have Nintendo that's like, look, we want to give you some of the top-tier mobile tech out there so you could take console-like games on the go. I'm going to say like games because obviously a vast majority of the library isn't like AAA console games. We're talking a lot of indie games, but we'll see if that changes over time. Reality is that I am just tired of it all, right? I'm 31, going on 32, and we're still going in circles about the same crap. Which console is better based on sales? Which console is better based on games? Which console is better based on specs? I think it's important to have conversations about the specs, conversations about the games, and I think it's even okay to cross-compare the various platforms based on specs and games, because consumers should do that to figure out which platform is for them. But that doesn't mean we have to put other people down for making a different choice than we do. And I think that's where I want to leave this video and leave just some food for thought. I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm a Nintendo enthusiast. I'm a PC gamer fan. I'm a PC enthusiast. I have admitted bias towards those platforms. I'm perfectly cool if you have bias towards the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One or Ouya or Vive or Oculus Rift. Maybe you just prefer to play games on your smartphone. I'm okay if you have leanings towards that kind of stuff that I don't. It doesn't bother me. And I'm not going to put you down for it. I'm not going to put you down because you say the games I play are crap. For you, that's probably true. But I don't have to justify my enjoyment of games to anybody else. And that's where I'm going to leave it. You guys let me know what you think about the console wars, fanboyism, and all this stuff down in the comments below. This should be a very interesting conversation because there are so many facets to this. I've talked in the past how much I hate fanboyism, hate fan wars, but I've never really gone into this depth where we really should start to come together, because when we come together as an industry, beautiful things happen. There's a lot of symmetry. You know, things like, there's been moments, right? Battlefront 2. The industry kind of came together to be like, no, loot boxes are bad. Didn't matter which platform you played on. Everyone agreed that paid loot boxes were bad. Still don't have them in that game. And I feel like those kind of moments shouldn't be rare. We should be able to come together always on issues with loot boxes and DLC and the direction of online systems and also we should be able to come together. We don't need to divide ourselves based on our personal preferences. All we have to do is be more accepting of others. And you know what? This is probably goes beyond gaming as well. Just as a society, we should be more accepting of others' taste and others' preferences and others' hobbies and other races and other religions or whatever the case may be. We need to start being more accepting as a people. You're going to find when you're someone that's like me and tries really, really hard to not let their bias get in the way of other people's enjoyment of their products, that you end up enjoying the products that you like even more. Because you're no longer basing your enjoyment on that, on how well you can use that enjoyment to put others down. Anyways, folks, I'm Nathaniel Rufflegents from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do, and if you dislike the video, hit that dislike button. Woo! Subscribe for more content. Be sure to hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications on every video we do and every live stream. Anyways, folks, I do want to mention right before I sign out that we are running a fundraiser down in the description to try to raise enough funds to send us to E3 this year. I feel like we have a lot of content we can create around that event, but we have to be there to do the best possible job we can. It's a really expensive trip. Contribute whatever you can, whether it's $1, $5, $10, I don't really care. You don't have to contribute at all. Just keep following and subscribing, and we will be just peachy. We also have a patreon.com/Nintendo Prime. You can go there and support us as well. There's multiple ways to support us if you want it that way. Otherwise, just keep watching, just keep dreaming. And you know what, folks? I will catch you in the next one.